while we let everybody in. All right.
I saw here's some good pre-talk. I saw Air yesterday. Really good.
Oh, you saw the Nike propaganda movie.
Is that what it is? I don't know.
Well, they ain't going to mention, people in China who are slaving away at their shoes for no money, right?
They did not mention that.
No, but no, listen, I'm going to love the movie, I'm sure. Did you love it?
Yeah, it was good. It was good. Those guys are good, man. Those guys are good.
I mean, the
Matt
soundtrack
Damon,
alone,
Ben Affleck. Yeah, you're right. The soundtrack was great. It's just a really good, well done movie. Good movie. Yeah.
Welcome everybody for coming in. What's going to give everybody another 30, 40 seconds to kind of get in here and situated while we get warmed up here. And the game's going on right now. And Toronto is up by 4 in Toronto. But welcome, come on in, everybody. Get relax, get ready.
We'll get DeRozan still got some bounce. There we go.
What's that?
DeRozan got some bounce still. You do it.
Oh, are you? You can't be that far in front of me, are you? I'm on DirecTV, man. You were like 10 seconds ahead of me on. What are you watching then?
Optimum.
On what?
Optimum.
What's Optimum? Is that cable?
Yeah.
Damn. Why is my DirecTV so far?
Oh, maybe because it's on the East Coast. It hits me first.
Yeah, right. I guess so. Maybe the wires are slow. All right. Well, here we go. Let's do it. I didn't even share this. Should I? Let me share.
Yeah,
this
share it on Twitter. Tag me,
and I'll tag you. What? All right. You guys want to watch me? All right. Here we go. Let's get this show started. Let me go to the live. So let me get the link here real quick. And anybody else who's out there, let everyone else know that you're in there. All right. Here we go. Click on that. Let me do this and let me do that, and open up Twitter. Live show now. You guys get to watch me tweet a live show right now with Combo.
We are here. We are here.
All right, let's do the proper opening, shall we? Get everybody started. Hey, sports fans, Coach Nick here, and welcome to the B-Ball Breakdown live show coming at you during the Bulls-Raptors play-in game. I've got Andrew Combo Salop with me again, as always. It's been a few weeks, I think. I've been busy, been traveling, life, whatnot. Combo, how are you doing, my man?
I am doing well, Coach Nick. Had some good brisket, just like you had, because you sent it to me.
Yes.
All is well, man. It's been a while. I love these live shows, and I'm glad we're back.
Absolutely. Well, don't forget, if you want to ask any questions, what's up, Ray-Bon? Good to see you out there. If you have a question you want us to answer on the show, Super Chat's the way to go on the YouTube side. So that'll help us keep the lights on and the show going. And we're going to be doing these, during the playoffs without question. We'll be doing some playback live watch parties that you have to get in on because you're watching the game anyway. It's a national game, so I think everyone gets to watch them now, right? We have to make sure that you shouldn't even have to log in at this point because they're all national games. But let me find that out. But either way, we do live analysis. I do giveaways for T-shirts and whatnot. So you guys got to join us. It's a great time. And let's get into it. Let's talk a little bit about it. So I was doing a video all day today, and I didn't finish it in time about the Lakers and about the Timberwolves. I'm just going to throw out there my initial impression is if that is playoff basketball, then the NBA is in trouble.
It was very sloppy, to say the least.
Well, what's funny is that, okay, it was sloppy in some of the crunch time stuff, but the Wolves did everything they needed to do for the first 42 minutes just to win the game. They had a 15-point lead at the end of the third quarter. They were nailing threes. So my big point I make in the beginning of the video is that typically they are very average in three-point frequency. They take 38% of their shots are threes, and they were at about 50% at that moment when they got that 15-point lead. They were half of their shots were threes, and they were nailing them at a much higher, at 50% clip versus the 30, whatever they are, 35 normally in the season. So this was a bit of a mirage, I think. Well,
personnel was different. Some of the guys that don't shoot threes weren't playing for them, right?
Oh, you know what? I didn't really. Okay. So Rudy Gobert wasn't in, who doesn't shoot threes, and so the argument could very well be that the guy that replaces him would shoot some more threes. I think it's still a pretty big jump, but okay, interesting point. I think the other thing was the scouting report by the Lakers was let them shoot them, except for Cat, let them shoot, which is weird because certainly they did that with Slow-Mo. And when you watch Kyle Anderson shoot, it's hard to blame anybody for thinking that, it's ugly. But guess what? The dude's over 40%. He doesn't take many. but he's 41% on the season, 41.5. So he can make them, especially if you're going to give him 6 feet. Like, that's the thing. He'll miss them if you get close in his airspace and start to disrupt his rhythm a little bit, or his lack of rhythm. But that was part of the thing. And he hit 2 out of 3 at that point, and that was, hurting them a little bit. So, and then Mike Conley didn't miss a shot for his first, 10, something like that, or first 8 or 9 shots. He is also a 40% 3-point shooter. So, and they were letting him get open. So it was a very strange on the Lakers side, the preparation and the scouting report. Also, they were blasting Anthony Edwards on the pick and rolls early, and they got a steal on one. I get it, but at some point down toward the end of the game, there wasn't much need to do that with the way he was playing, which was just awful, right? He was in his head. He was completely distracted. He didn't know what he wanted to do. And they dragged themselves out of position and gave up some easy shots because they still had the same, method of defending him in the pick and roll with the 2 guys going toward him. So that was weird. The Wolves completely blew a couple of out of timeout plays, which is there's no excuse for that. And I broke that down. You see Kyle Anderson having to look back at the bench and and then quickly has to go to the other side of the court. It all got screwed up from there, and that that contributed to them not scoring for the last 6 minutes of the regulation.
What does that tell you? What does this game tell you about the Lakers' chances, if anything? I know it's only one game, but I mean, Rudy's not there, and this is a game you should win handily, right?
Yeah,
and they struggled. They looked really sloppy.
Yeah,
and LeBron, yeah, exactly. So they're losing 2 of their better players. He is so important defensively for them. They don't have them, and it's just a struggle for the Lakers, and they're going to have to get through some tough series. I mean, 1 through 8 in the West this year, there's no series off at all. So I don't think this gives me an optimistic feeling about the Lakers right now. But to the other point is it's almost like they have a chance, and 7 other teams have a chance as well.
Absolutely. Chuck said it last night in a way, and I think they are all looking at him funny, but he said the same kind of thing where the Lakers, if that's what they're going to give you against a team that's missing a couple starters, then you're really there's a real problem here. And there's no question that is a thing. They couldn't stop Cat at all. And what was interesting about on the other side was, I guess I was focused on the Timberwolves more than anybody because they lost the game, but let's get into that too. So, what they opened up with Cat guarding AD, and AD was roasting him, and they didn't go back on the other end. He hits him with a nice turnaround on one post up, but that was about it. They didn't really go at Anthony Davis. They realized they weren't going to double team Cat. They're going to let Anthony Davis play him, which is a smart move. But you still got it. You could get Anthony Davis in foul trouble. You can get, that's a nice matchup. You might be able to get something out of that. But meanwhile, on the other side, they were putting Cat on AD. And that's, Cat's just not a good defender, really. There are moments if he can be sort of a zone in the back, he can kind of have a little bit of rim protection, but he's not really a good defender. And Anthony Davis made him look, foolish on a few of those. So they finally put slow-mo on him. And that changed the entire game. That was the key. So they were getting stops. All of a sudden, what it did was, the Lakers were – the other thing was the Lakers were so hyper-focused on getting Cat in the pick and roll. Okay, so when whoever his man is guarding has to set the ball screen, that once they put Kyle Anderson on AD suddenly goes to the corner, goes to the wing, and it's just completely out of the play because they want to screen with whoever Cat is guarding. And here's the kicker. Not only did it work terrifically at the end, in the midway through the second quarter, toward the end of the half, they went back to the same alignment to start the third quarter with Cat guarding AD, and they hit a couple threes right away. It was like what is Coach Finch doing? I don't know what it is, but they need to be better.
Well, I don't even know if that was such a great adjustment putting slow-mo on AD. Just the Lakers didn't capitalize, right?
No, I think it did. I think slow-mo in that setting is decent. And he can move his feet a little bit better. He's better with his hands. And
I mean, you would think as a coach, it's not ideal for you to have slow-mo on AD, right? And I love slow-mo.
All I could tell you is that in the evidence, what it did was so profoundly effective, especially because the Lakers don't adjust very well either.
That's back to my point.
Yeah.
You got to try and go at slow-mo every play if that's who's guarding AD. That's your mismatch more than even anybody Cat's guarding.
Right. And that, by the way, okay, that's a good point. And they didn't do that. They didn't like spread the four out and then have him get in that left block and just wait for him to get open. And that's on, Coach Ham, that's on LeBron. It's not, those are the guys that control the offense and need to make that happen. And it wasn't. They were so focused on the pick and roll and trying to get mismatches that way that they weren't really running proper offense. And in contrast to what the Timberwolves were doing, they were actually running some nice sets. They were getting Princeton and triangle and 21 stuff going on. And then, you had Cat just being really dominant. Now, of course, the foul trouble becomes an issue too, sort of. But he played 42 minutes, so he might have gotten another 1 or 2 minutes. It wasn't like the minutes were that limited, but it got into his head. Cat is a guy who will let things affect him, and he gets upset, and they pout. The coach too. And so it really was, no team deserves to win a game if you can't score a point from anywhere on the court in the last 6 minutes of the game. You just can't win a game like that.
It's interesting you mentioned that about Cat, because if you just look at his talent, it feels like he should be like a top 10 NBA player, right? So mindset probably does have a lot to do with it.
Yeah. I mean, he also, it's funny. I think he's leaving a lot of his athletic ability on the table. I feel like his movement pattern isn't great. And, it's actually a testament to what he can do, that he is really good now. He can jump pretty high and he has some lateral explosion, but he doesn't tap into it. He certainly doesn't get to it on the defensive end. And there's some weird movement patterns he has that he could be adjusted.
He's not as fluid as AD, Embiid, or even Jokic. He's a better athlete than Jokic, but he's not as fluid. So that's what it is with him.
Yeah. But he's a terrific offensive player, really.
But he shoots better than all those guys, though. That's the thing.
Absolutely. Yeah. And then, and he let it get to him in the fourth quarter. They weren't scoring. They weren't getting him the ball, like you mentioned. And so they do a horn set. He comes off of a pin down like Kyle Korver and tries to just shoot a three, quick release three in AD's face. And it wasn't close. It's like, you need to be better and tougher and be able to, execute on the road in a playoff atmosphere. It was just not good enough. Now let's get to the end here, because the Lakers finally claw back, and it was almost a foregone conclusion once it got to be 6 minutes left before the drought of the Wolves scoring. You could already sort of sense it. They had gotten rid of the 15-point lead. It was 5 or 6. They couldn't shake them. And so we get to the last possession for the Lakers with 19 seconds left, or 18 seconds left. They inbound the ball, and they have LeBron drive baseline. And Mike Conley, by the way, for as good as he was offensively shooting the ball for a lot of that game, he was equally terrible defensively on a number of possessions that were driving me nuts. I have to kind of go through and find him again, because I was sending some text to people saying he's terrible. And it really came back to kill him, because his man is Schroeder in the weak side corner. And that was the play. I don't think LeBron, do you think LeBron was looking for the shot on that baseline drive before he kicked it out?
I think, if he had it, he would have took it. I mean, he's always looking to make the right basketball play.
Yeah, which is sometimes not the shot, or half the time not the shot. And that's okay. Mm-hmm. And obviously this is the right decision on this one too. But the fact that Conley picks up a cutter into the lane when his only job at all on the weak side on that kind of thing is to stay home on the corner. That's his only job, because especially Anthony Edwards had crashed down, and he was the guy that would have picked up or kind of picked up that cutter anyway. It was unnecessary. It was a huge mistake. I don't even know if he realized it, but it was really just frustrating watching that, because that's one of those no-brainers, and you see him every time. The guy in the weak side baseline has to stay there. He's going to try and get a steal, eliminate the pass to the corner. It was weird. And as a result, Schroeder could lick his thumb, check the wind, and then shoot that free.
He was fantastic last night, Coach Nick, especially down the stretch. I mean, this guy was an all-star level player in Atlanta. I think people forget about that. And he's just one of those guys, when you give him opportunity in those type of situations, he's going to take advantage. He has a lot of playoff experience. I feel like people look at Atlanta Schroeder as a totally different player, but he's still in his prime, in my opinion.
I think he's the kind of guy on a good team that you can't play him too many minutes, but if you really get the sweet spot with him where you can get the best of his play and get eliminate some of the bad stuff, then yeah, for sure. I'm trying to look up how many minutes he got last night, but of course, oh wow, the NBA site just froze. That's nice. Let's try this on ESPN, because there is a limit to what you can get out of him. You know what I mean? You can't play him 30 minutes if you think you're a good team. Let me see how many minutes he played. He played 30 minutes. He played 33. And I think he got those minutes also. He got over 30 because of the, I want to say
overtime. Yeah, overtime. So,
and there wasn't perfect. There were some issues with him too. But you're right. He's a very solid player and a great guy to bring off the bench. And if you give him the 24 minutes or 25 minutes, I think that's perfect for him. And if you don't need any more than that, then that means you're a good team. Now, are we saying that about the Lakers? Is he really, a really good team? I don't know. I mean, I had done a video just now recently about all the foul disparity they were getting the free throws. And, defensively, they've been locked down for the second half of the season. They've been terrific with getting rid of some players and then adding Vanderbilt. And even guys like Beasley play defense fine. They've been number one. They were number one in the league. So that's big, right? Because that AD and LeBron can score whenever they need to.
Yeah, I agree. What do you think are the keys for them moving forward? Like, what do you think they have to focus in on to even like get past the next series? I mean, people want to talk about championship, but it's one series at a time.
Yeah, I mean, they're going to have a hard time against the Memphis Grizzlies. Memphis is long, they're forceful, they are athletic, they'll get under your skin. Now that is one thing.
They have the defensive player of the year, in my opinion.
Yeah, probably. And the Dillon Brooks thing, I'll be surprised if his antics get to LeBron, for instance. I don't think LeBron's going to go for that, and that they're relying on that probably a little bit, and he'll try, and it'll probably blow up in his face. But even still, I mean, you're talking about Ja Morant and on down. They have. I would be very concerned if I were the Lakers, but because again, 23 games is a big stretch to say, oh, they were number one defense after that trade. That is true, but also when you're trying to play in a playoff series against a better team or a higher rated team, and you don't have the home court advantage, you might need more games of repetitions to really get that chemistry going. That's what I wonder. I mean, I know that we've seen they dismantled the Warriors' offense with all that movement and cutting, getting open by deflections of the balls to no end. And that could very well happen with the Lakers as well. They might just try and just completely isolate everything, right? Slow everything down and just make it the AD and LeBron, game. And that might help them. But I don't feel great about it right now. Certainly after that last night's game, they didn't have a big advantage in the free throws to begin with. That's why they were down by so much, and they were getting outshot from the 3-point line by a ridiculous margin, which, by any measure over the last 5-6 years means that the Wolves were going to win 90% of those games. They were up 9 or 10 made threes. It was crazy. They didn't finish that way though. They finished. They made 14, and the Lakers made. Where is it? I'm sorry. They made 16 and the Lakers made 10. So they got it a little bit closer. They got it within 6, but they were down by 9 or 10 earlier. And that was another one of those reasons. So they're going to have to shoot better, I think, anyway, from the 3-point line. That's going to have to be a thing for them. And then meanwhile, they did. They shot, and that's what sort of was the difference, right, in the overtime. Rui hits a 3, and that was huge. And then what's his face? Anthony Edwards doesn't pick up his man, and that's Schroeder at the 3-point line, forces Cat to have to run out, and then Schroeder gets right by him, lays it in. They're up by 5, and then that was pretty much it. They held on to that lead. So anyway, where are we now?
Yeah, I mean, and also AD cannot make that mistake fouling Mike Conley for that 3. He's an NBA champion, lots of experience. He just can't do that. You can't go under a shooter. You got to contest. You know what? You're down 3. Like, just keep your hands up high. The worst thing that could happen, don't foul him.
That was the weakest, landing foul you're ever going to see. And I'm pretty sure they called it on a landing foul because the toe of Conley touched his toe, right? There was a hip check after that, which, maybe you can call that. But in theory, that wouldn't have been 3 shots. That would have been 2 because it was after the shot, I think. But nonetheless, that wasn't really the problem. The problem was they ran a decent play where they flare screened for Conley to the weak side corner like that. The problem was that Darvin Ham was quicker to close out on the corner than AD was. And you see that in the footage. He starts running over there. Oh, my God. AD did not know. I mean, of course, they're going to switch everything. LeBron was playing it that way. And the fact that he didn't know and he didn't switch immediately and try and stop. Like, who cares if anybody gets a 2-point shot? Like that was the stupidest part of it all.
That is true.
And I hope that that's what he realizes out of all of that. Because again, that was a tough one. That happened to me. Did I ever tell you that story?
No.
We were undefeated in our league my senior year of high school. And hardly anybody could ever run the table in our league. It was really tough.
No offense. Was there a 3-point line?
There was a 3-point line.
Okay.
However, if you fouled somebody taking a shot from behind the 3-point line, it was not 3 free throws.
Yeah, they changed that, in the 90s maybe?
Well, I don't know, but maybe they screwed this up because they only gave the guys. So here's what happened. We were up by 1, and I had hit the 2 free throws to put us up, and there was no time left. They inbound the ball at 3-quarter court, and a guy throws a baseball pass, and I put my hands up, and on his follow through, he basically punched me. Okay,
wow.
You can picture that. And out of nowhere, after we were all on the court, whatever, celebrating, the referee stops everybody and kicks them all up and says there was a foul on me. And I mean, it was, and the guy got 2 free throws. He bricked them both, thank God. But that would have ended. That would have, it was horrible. That notion that could have happened, and that was sort of the same idea with AD, right? You can't really be close at all, and that give the referee an opportunity. But I'm sympathetic to him on that one. I felt like it was pretty iffy. You know what I mean? I don't know. Would you think that anybody would have? Well, obviously they're in Los Angeles, but I don't know if it would have been a controversy if they didn't call it.
Nah, he was under him.
He wasn't really though, right? What's the contact you see? Toe to toe, right?
Yeah.
I'm not, and again, maybe one toe landed on him.
Ever since the Bruce Bowen stuff, they don't allow that anymore, man.
I mean, I know it's a toe, it's an inch, it's 2 inches, right? Maybe. Maybe
you got to make. You have the type of length, to your point, you got to be in position. You have the type of length to be able to contest somebody without fouling him, and he's a super athletic guy. It's a mental letdown. Right there. That's what it is.
Again, it's all rooted in the fact that he didn't freaking switch properly, and he would have been there.
Didn't somebody hit a 3 on him when they were playing the Mavs too? Didn't he do this before?
AD?
Yeah, I'm feeling. I know
Russ.
I'm seeing flashbacks. I'm thinking Kleber.
Russ did something like that.
Okay,
but I don't remember if it was. I don't know. Maybe someone in the comments remembers and they can tell us because my mind is mush. Having. I tell you, I ground you. So I was telling you this earlier. You ever get this thing where it happens? Well, maybe Jason will tell us in a second. Where the harder you try and go faster with your work, the slower it goes. You ever encounter that?
Sounds like a paradox.
Yeah, and that's been happening to me for weeks now. So I had this whole Laker video. It's just about done, but I couldn't get it done in time. It was too late in the day, and here we are. So maybe I drop it anyway. I don't know, but is it too late? I don't know. What do you guys think?
I think it's not too late unless the next Laker game is already started.
No, I mean, right. And that's true. But there's other games I got to deal with now. And now I'm a day behind the first freaking day. Now, here's the thing I noticed. I was thinking about it because I took a break after before we went on the air. In the hurry to do these, sometimes you miss stuff, right? And I didn't really talk about LeBron at all. I realized after the fact in the 10-minute video, there's a lot of stuff going on. I got to deal with the Wolves. And I have to imagine that would not go over well, right? People want to hear about LeBron, and LeBron did shoot really well, and he scored a bunch of points, and there's what's worthy of that. But when you're talking about spotlighting plays that are interesting, that you can tell the story of what happened in the game. He slipped through those cracks, and so now I'm wondering if I even release it or do I add it, or what do you think?
There was a lot going on there. Do you feel like you're taking Bron for granted now, since it's year 20 and he's still dropping? What do you have? 30, 10, and 6, something like that.
Yeah, maybe, and he's probably got an injured foot. He started out the game looking pretty.
That's the second game he started out slow in a row.
Yeah, and you could see that he wasn't moving well. The jumper, the rhythm was off. He looked ginger a little bit, and then he maybe got warmed up a little bit, and then maybe the adrenaline and the pain goes away. And that's a worrisome thing because that kind of pain can pop right back up again and be too severe to continue playing.
Yeah, I mean, look, they got a chance. They definitely have a chance. They're a lot better basketball team than before the trade deadline,
Yeah.
So they made some really good moves. They're a better basketball team, but they're very flawed at the same time. And, adjustments is a big thing for them. They haven't been making the greatest adjustment. I just trust the coach like Ty Lue more than, the Lakers, so
yeah,
it is what it is. You got to make adjustments to the playoffs. And the Lakers haven't seemed to be doing that at a great level, even though their defense has been great since the trade deadline.
Yeah, that's true. Well, did you watch any of the Hawks game?
Yeah.
I don't like Miami. I just don't like their team.
Well, they're at a talent deficit. They don't have as much talent as other teams. It's just plain and simple. Think about the Boston Celtics. Think about the guys on that basketball team.
Yeah.
It's crazy that the Heat could even compete with them last year.
Yeah, and it's a little bit different this year, but not much. But you're right. I mean, if you have to start Gabe Vincent, that's you're not going to get deep in the playoffs. I like him; he's fine, but he's not going to be a guy that you can start on a team that gets deep in the playoffs. It's just not going to happen the way that happens. You're right, and they don't. After that, there really isn't a lot besides Kyle Lowry. You're right. I just don't like the way they play anyway. But yeah,
they have a great coaching staff. They do really well for what they have. They just do not have enough. It's plain and simple.
And I think it's time that they need to figure out, another path here to start mixing and matching. I mean, if they were, reticent to trade Hero, they should just, if he's got value, they could trade him. Like, anybody should be on the table.
I mean, Kyle is on a crazy contract. You got to pay him a lot. You got to pay Tyler a lot. You got to pay Duncan a lot. Can you package some of those guys for a Brad Beal or Dame Lillard? I don't know.
Yeah. And meanwhile, on the other side, I hadn't watched a ton of Hawks, I realized, having gone through that. But there was a little bit of DeJounte Murray and Trey Young trading off that I kind of liked. There's some notion there. It's like, okay, they're both threats, and it really puts a lot of pressure on the defense, and it gives a chance for Young to just, let Murray bring the ball up a little bit and then be aggressive. So I like that. And then Collins played 22 minutes. And he was good in those minutes. He seems to turn it up in the playoffs a little bit better in my mind. And I like, they were building something a couple of years ago, right, when they got to the conference finals. But obviously, even still, Trey Young doesn't take care of the ball well enough for me. And he takes some really bad shots. And it just isn't efficient enough. For a guy who has the sort of the reputation of a deep 3-point shooter, I just don't know if he's not efficient enough to do that, and that's a trouble. He needs to fix that.
Yeah, I think people think of him as a shooter, but he's more of a playmaker, like a great passer, great scorer, but he's not super efficient. Like, we talked about this on this podcast before. I think, two things can be true. Like, I think Trey Young is great, and I think he's underappreciated for the numbers he could put up at his size. I also do believe that it'll be tough for a team to win a championship if Trey Young is your best player. And a lot of that has to do with the defensive side of the ball more than anything. Like, it's just tough in the playoffs when you have Trey Young defensively. But, an outstanding talent. Like, this guy gets 30 and 10 like nothing. He's 6 foot tall. He's not that athletic. Like, he's a very talented guy at the end of the day. So,
yeah. He just they need to figure out what's going on with his 3-point shot. It needs to be better. Last year was better in the regular season. So he needs to figure that out because, again, he's going to take 6, 7, 8 shots a game from deep. He needs to shoot much better than 33% that he did this year.
Do you feel that's just decision-making on when to take the shot and the system? He's not getting enough effortless shots and easy looks?
Yeah, certainly if you went through his misses, you'll see a lot of those. But then you'll see him miss stuff too that are open. Maybe if I can call up the wide open numbers for him, I'm kind of curious if it is comparable to anybody or not. And so he's streaky in that sense. And then, he doesn't take care of the ball. The turnovers he makes are the kind that will enrage your teammates. And it's tough. So there's a couple things there you got to clean up. Like I talked about this with Dame and with Steph. If you're going to take a shot from deep, let's say without passing the ball from the 3-point line, you better be like, you better make a bunch of those. You got to actually, prove it. You got to be the best teammate in the world, which I don't know if he is or not. And otherwise, it develops resentment and it develops bad chemistry. We ask Nate McMillan about that, and here we are with, by the way, the king of chemistry, Quinn Snyder. If anybody is going to figure that one out, I think it's him. So we'll see. So I'm interested. I'm intrigued. So they're going to go on. Wait, they went on there. They're going to go play who?
The Celtics.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
So I haven't wrapped my head around that yet.
Some people are saying that it's going to be closer than other people think. People are saying that didn't really make no sense what I just said, but you get it.
Yeah. I don't know yet. I kind of want to see a couple games from the Celtics with some pressure on them and to really get a handle on what they are this year.
Those guys are good players, man. And Clint Capella is a vertical lob threat. Everybody thinks about spacing as like the in terms of 3-point shooters, but you need that guy who rim runs, catches lobs. That they're a good team. They got guys. They like Collins, Capella, Trey, DeJounte. Hey, I really like Jalen Johnson. He got some opportunity yesterday and contributed. I always like his game. I like him a lot. He is intriguing. He's like that point forward type player.
Yeah, I mean, he made a couple of boneheaded plays, but kudos to Snyder for not just yanking him away.
Yeah, I agree.
And because then he actually had a short roll for a lob. I think that was beautiful. Maybe a steal in there in my mind's eye. So he's there's something there. And what year is he?
This would be year number 2.
Yeah, so that's great.
He was a Duke guy, and then he left while he was at Duke. He shut it down. People didn't like that. I guess that like hurt his reputation a little bit, but super talented player.
Yeah. But yeah, Johnny makes a good point. Like they'll have to get hot. The Hawks will need to get hot to have a chance. And but that happens. People get hot, and certainly when Trey Young gets his floater game going, that's as hard to stop as like an AD post up.
Well, he leverages that to throw alley oops to Collins and Capella.
Yeah. So it's like you get stuck in a by the way, what would really work is chase defense, the one I invented where you're behind him and you get him out of there. Actually, we know what, maybe not as much because with Trey, I would almost say you'd want to just sink and let him shoot. Really just see what and then if he starts to make a few, then you can adjust. But I would take away the floater as much as I could on him. You know what I mean?
The thing is though, if you let Trey get cooking, like it could be a problem. Just like he'll get a better feel for scoring. He'll start making the right pass. It's like, so, I mean, I feel like, well, Jaylen Brown's actually a little hurt, but I feel like with their length, they should be able to bother Trey a little bit, right? With some straight up defense.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and by the way, on the other side, when you're talking about Trey's defense, I mean, they'll be able to hide him on Derek White a little bit. So watch for Derek White to maybe score a little bit more than you think. They might have him cutting and doing things where they can take advantage of that. They're obviously not going to post him up with a little bit of a height advantage, but they might try and find that. And Trey might fall asleep a little bit and get to let those cuts, it through. But I'm trying to think of the matchup right now as far as who guards Tatum.
Yeah, it's going to be tough for the Hawks second unit when like Brogdon comes in. Like the Celtics have a lot of good basketball players. Yeah,
but I mean, you're right. Listen, DeAndre Hunter, I really like. He's very solid. He can play some defense. He could guard, and he's long. The Hawks have some pieces here that they could, do. Collins again has shown, in the playoffs time and again that he can really play some defense. So they might be able to do something. Now again, the home court advantage is going to be the biggest thing I think for the Celtics as it is anyway. But we'll see. Like, what do you think? How many games might that series go?
I think it could go 6.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. You think that the Hawks steal a game on one of the first 2 games?
Yeah, I think so. I think there is a level of that. The Hawks have more to prove, maybe. Like they feel like the underdogs.
Yeah,
and another thing is Jaylen Brown's not going to be 100%, and they've been struggling second half of the season.
Yeah, you're right. No, I'll go 6. I'm with you on the 6. I was going to try and hedge or something like that, but no, let's go bold. Go bold or go home. I mean, I can't say that they're going to beat them, but man,
that would be tough. That would be devastating for the Celtics.
Yeah, it would be. But let's say 6. But then again, Celtics losing the second round is probably devastating to them too, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's championship or bust for I'd say the Celtics and the Bucks and the Sixers in the East.
Yeah, let me. Where's my bracket? I want to see. I want to see who the.
So we got Knicks, Cavs too. That's going to be really interesting.
Okay, yes. And so I just did a big thing about the Knicks. What was I doing with the Knicks?
Oh, good.
I was staring all at their footage. Why?
I've been watching some. I've been paying attention to the Knicks lately too.
Yeah. Please go and watch the video. I just did it. For some reason, I'm going to change the title, but I did an MVP video, but I spotlit Jalen Brunson is a guy who needs to be part of the conversation. I'm not going to say he needs to win it because his numbers aren't big enough, but he's done.
Doug Gottlieb tweeted the same thing, and I thought it was really interesting.
Well, Doug was supposed to come on the show and talk about it, and then he couldn't make it happen.
Okay,
but
Doug,
that's why I decided to do it.
Friend of Combos Court, friend of the breakdown.
Yeah. Well, it's like I wanted to do the video. Hey, Doug, why don't you come on and talk about it? And then he's like, great. And then I did the video. Now he wasn't available. So I was like, okay, I had the video at least. But he's right. What he's done, because I don't know what MVP means. I don't know what it's supposed to award. I don't know is it the most dominant player? Is it the best player? The guy who's the most valuable on his team?
Does the NBA do that on purpose so there could be these debates?
I don't know. I think maybe way back in the day, there was a definition of it, but it was supposed to kind of be like whoever had the best player that year, right? But again, that's also vague. But either
like
way,
if you have the bet, well, that is vague because KD I think is a better basketball player than some of the candidates, right?
oh yeah. Well, I mean, well, Michael Jordan would have won every single year he played, right? And that's the thing.
Yeah.
But other guys had really good years too during that run, and they won, and he didn't. And I get it. Although the Barkley one, I think, was the one I think that Michael was supposed to have won in '93.
Yeah. Barkley was really good that year. I mean,
and he got in the finals, although they didn't know he got in the finals because they already voted for the award.
That's another thing, though. I don't. I'm the type of guy that doesn't care about what happened. Like people are trying to say, like Jokic can't win 3 because it puts him in rarefied air. It doesn't matter. It's a regular season award. Like if he's the most valuable player in that regular season, he should win MVP no matter what happens in the playoffs.
Yeah. Well, I mean, what do you say to the argument that Joel Embiid would have had all these amazing years and not won anything, and that doesn't seem right either. What do you respond to?
If he doesn't deserve MVP, he doesn't deserve MVP. Has he been playing at an MVP level? Yes. I think him, Giannis, and Jokic have been playing at an MVP level. Me personally, I would give it to Jokic. All
right, but you think that Embiid deserves it if he wins it?
I wouldn't be mad at it. I'll put it that way.
Yeah, I mean that's where you're getting through now. It's like the split.
But if you're a voter, I don't think you should just go, oh, there's going to be this period of time. Even though I think Jokic is more valuable, that I should just give it to Joel. Like, I don't believe that should be the case in general.
Yeah, I hear you. What I find frustrating is, going through the Sixers footage, I was trying to find interesting sets that each team ran for those guys to get scores. And the Sixers, here's the thing: you don't need to do anything. Just get the ball on the elbow, and he'll just dominate you from every time he gets the ball there. And so that was interesting to me. And then, so I also said, they don't move very much on offense. And that's true. They are the very bottom of the league in terms of distance covered on offense. And they were 28th, I believe, in the league in miles per game on offense. Guess who was 30th though?
Who?
Denver. Now that doesn't make sense to me because Denver has cutting and movement and Jokic and the whole thing. But it also tells you that those are 2 top 5 offenses in the league and 2 teams that don't move very much in the half court, right? At least as far as player movement tracking wise. It's fascinating to me that was those 2 things. There's probably not a huge correlation, but it tells you certainly that you don't need to have all that movement when you have such great players. You can really just sort of simplify the game. But does that ultimately make it harder when you get to the conference finals or the NBA finals when suddenly the stagnancy is going to cause you to miss a lot more shots?
Yeah, that doesn't make sense to me from the eye test point of view because they have Eric Gordon, who moves really well without the ball. Bruce Brown moves really well without the ball. Michael Porter Jr. is a great catch and shoot off the ball movement shooter. Jamal Murray likes the basketball, but I that doesn't really make sense from an eye test point of view.
I'm going up and doing it one more time because you're right. Like, was I in the right year when I did that? Distance, miles, offense. They're last. The Spurs are first. Like, look at the teams that are first: Spurs, Hornets, Thunder, Pacers, Jazz. These are not the top teams, offensive teams, right? But they're like spinning their wheels and moving around all over the place, and that's fascinating.
Maybe they're not efficient with their movements.
Maybe average speed offense. Maybe that's where we'll find Denver. No, let's see here. No, they're still down at the bottom, and Philly is last, and that's for sure. They don't move very quickly at all. That's what really hurts Philly in that end are the role players because there's no rhythm, there's no movement. They just have to stand there and watch Harden and Embiid do their thing.
So where is exactly? Where is the Sixers ranked here? You said
in terms of which?
In terms of movement.
Well, average speed, they're last on offense. So the average speed of their players on the offensive side is last, and then the average distance traveled on offense is 28th.
Yeah, I mean, look, that makes sense. Like, imagine Harden's Rockets. Like, those other players weren't moving at all. They
right,
just spotted up. I mean, they at one point they had one rim runner, and then they went like 5 out.
Yeah, and it kills the energy, right? You don't necessarily play defense as well. So all of that is frustrating.
It's really tough to win that way because according to the numbers, it seems like it should be easy to win that way because you're prioritizing 3-pointers, layup dunks, and free throws. But you take away some of the chemistry playing that style.
Yeah, I agree. Now, it's funny because I'm like, Steve Kerr is the king of that. And let's say the Warriors this year, they're top 10, 2, 4, 6, 8, 9. They're 9th in distance traveled on offense, and then the average speed on offense. They are.
You know who you got to look up? The Kings. I feel like they should be 1-1.
So the Warriors, I mean, the Kings are 4th in the league
Okay.
in average speed of the movement of the players, but the distance traveled on offense for the Kings they're right ahead of the Warriors. I mean, the Warriors and the Kings have a very similar, offensive profile. Should be a fascinating series, right? We could talk about that for a second if you want.
Yeah, definitely. By the way, I was on I did a Sacramento radio hit. Shouts to 1140, Sacktown 1140, and people in the comment section. They were friends of the breakdown. They were saying, "Oh, that's Combo from B-Ball Breakdown." So shouts to
there you
them,
go. Yeah. All right. I used to be friends with the Kings. I don't know what happened. Maybe I don't know. Maybe we'll have to get them back. But if you that's going to be a really beautiful basketball. We're going to get plays. It's not going to be like dribble shot three, whatever. It's going to be backdoors, layups, kickouts. It'll be a really, really fun.
Well, when I asked you, like, what was the Warriors' influence on this team since Mike Brown is the coach, you thought it was more of a throwback Kings influence than a Warriors influence.
I mean, obviously he was there long enough. There's going to be a lot of influence from what they did in Golden State. But, he was trying to put this offense in 2010 with the Lakers when I was at those practices. So, he's always kind of had this vision of what he wanted to do. And now he's there. And by the way, what you're seeing defensively or a lack thereof from the Warriors this year, it could very well be connected to the fact that he's not there anymore. Now, that said, let's go look at the Kings defense because I'm kind of curious where they rate. Did he do the same? I don't think he did. So that's the problem. The Kings this year defensive rating was 24th. And that's why they're not going to win the series against the Warriors. Now the Warriors turn that around, and you look at what their rating is.
So you give the Kings no chance.
No, and the Warriors are 14th on defense, and that's without having Wiggins for a big stretch, right? So that would, in my mind, that 14th rating would be closer to top 10 if they had Wiggins all season long. Now,
Wiggins is not going to be 100%, right?
Well, that's the whole thing. This is all predicated on Wiggins. If Wiggins looks anywhere near his normal self, then they could get all the way to the finals. But I got to see a game or two before we can figure that out.
So do you think the Kings have a chance, let's say, if Wiggins is 60%?
No. I think I give the Warriors 70% chance of winning the series. Is that what you're asking?
Oh, okay. So you're saying that the Kings do have a chance.
I mean, they have a chance, but I would say 7 out of 10 and the Warriors win.
Yeah, I mean, the experience is there. You know what it really shows if the Warriors lose the series, that the league has, in fact, caught up to the Warriors in terms of styles of play and ability.
Yeah, I mean, that's probably true. And by the way, Johnny has a great comment about Kuminga as a super X factor. It's true. And then Andre wants to talk about GP2. Also, another one of those defenders they need who can shoot the three from a standstill position. So that's why you have to figure that they have a legitimate shot, but it's not going to be easy, and they don't have the chemistry that they needed to build. And I don't know if they're going to be able to just sort of create it out of whole cloth. But most of the West needs to be very concerned if they see Wiggins getting 22 points in a game, playing his normal defense. That's the thing that they're really missing, and that's what's going to help them guard KD if they have to play Phoenix and everybody else at that position. That's the big scoring position.
Kings, I mean, the key for the Kings is to be connected defensively, because they showed flashes of it, but they just couldn't do it consistently throughout the course of the season.
I don't know. Are you really going to say flashes when they're ranked 24th?
If you watch them, there were times that they looked pretty good on defense.
All right.
I test wise. And then, I think it's important to, Harrison has experience, but how will Keegan Murray play in the playoffs because he's a rookie? I think that's a big question.
Yeah, it is. And I think he's a rookie, but he played 4 years in college, right?
I don't think 4. I think his brother did. Yeah.
Okay.
I could be wrong, though.
So he's not like a typical rookie, and he certainly doesn't play like a typical rookie. So I would be surprised if it completely overwhelmed him. But, we saw Anthony Edwards get overwhelmed last night, and he looked like a rookie, basically, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So that happens.
His brother's actually coming out, so maybe the Kings will draft him.
Well, and Harrison Barnes, by the way, is a good point. He's got a real chip on his shoulder, I'd imagine, to really, for him, he can't try too hard.
I think Draymond was talking spicy about him, right? because he left?
I don't know. I missed that, but yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, I'd say, let's wrap it up. Are we sold on Denver at number 1 seed team?
Yeah, I mean, here's a good question for you, Coach Nick. Who has the best chance to win it all, in your opinion? Because, I mean, that's a great question this year. I mean, other years it's obvious. I don't think it's obvious this year.
It's definitely not obvious. And, again, until I can see Wiggins for a few games, I can't really figure out what the Warriors are. But, of all the other teams, let's say in the West, for instance, alone, I mean, it's a strange year, man. I mean, they get stranger every year, right? But of all the other teams in the West, like Memphis, again, on paper, like they seem pretty scary to me. And defensively, when they get going, that's what's scary to me. But let's see here. Other than that, Phoenix is probably the one team you got to be worried about. I don't think Paul George is going to end up being. He's not going to be 100%. Is he going to play?
I don't know. His knee is not doing well right now. It seems like he's on his podcast with a big knee brace on.
Yeah, so I don't think I think that's an unfortunate situation for them. Although don't know how I felt about it anyway when he was healthy. But so I suppose the real interesting character here would be the Suns. Do they have any ability to make this work without having had any games together? Really?
Yeah, I mean, what does that say about the NBA? I mean, KD is obviously an all-time great, but just throwing a guy on a team and then you winning a championship. I guess they were good already, but
Yeah, but CP3 is a year older. He's closer to being washed, I guess. And then, Booker has yet to really, right? He hasn't quite sort of solidified himself in the role that maybe he thinks he's in, They got.
I think production wise he does. I just feel like the league doesn't view him in that way, or the media or the fans.
Yeah. And I'm not sure exactly why that is, but this would probably be the moment he needs to be able to show it. Now, will he be able to with KD out there, or will he be like a bit more of a role player and not sort of have that situation? And will he be okay with that? Maybe. But does that diminish that ascendance that he's been looking for? We'll see. That'll be an interesting storyline in and of itself, and whether Monty can keep this crew together.
I think it's the way he plays basketball. He's not really box office. He doesn't move and shake like Kyrie. He doesn't fly through the air like, Zion or John Morant. He's not big and powerful like Giannis. Like he's kind of just like a mid-range guy who could really get his shot. Obviously, he's a 3-level scorer, but, he depends a lot in mid-range scoring. He's very skilled, but there's not a lot of highlights going on. And I think when there's not a lot of that, the media, the fans, it's not eye-popping, but he's obviously great. And an all-star level player.
Yeah. I mean, he's just not quite at the tippity top, but he's good. And by the way, if he's your second best player, you're in pretty good shape. Booker, that is.
He's tough. And also he's a killer. Like, except when Luka took his heart last year. But that's besides the point.
Yeah. That, by the way, that might be an answer to why you're thinking maybe kind of hasn't quite gotten to where he wants to get to, and that was certainly an embarrassment on the Suns basketball. So they have a lot to prove, and they certainly have the potential to do that. But Denver, I don't know. We know that Jokic does play a little bit better defense in the playoffs. He gets more engaged. They're more concerned. He's less concerned about fouls, and you can probably get away with some fouls anyway, based on what we've seen so far. So. That's that I don't know. I feel like I was enamored with them in the bubble when they made that run, and Jamal Murray was so good. And so I would love to see that happen again. I just don't know if they, it's such a weird year. There's a lot of teams that are good. So anybody, and it wouldn't be a shame. Like if they got knocked out in the conference finals, they wouldn't have to hang their head. I don't think.
Who, Denver?
Yeah.
I mean, the fan base and the team and the organization, the players would be devastated. I think they're championship or bust this season.
But if they get beat by Phoenix playing the way we think that they could play, like what are you going to do? Like that's a good team.
Here's a question for you: is this good for the NBA? Do you find the playoffs more interesting with 8 teams that could have a chance to win?
I think so. Yeah, you should. I mean, I certainly don't think that the Bulls and Raptors is a really exciting game. Obviously, we're doing a show in the middle of it because those two teams don't really, but if you're talking about, I got to watch that matchup because that's two really good teams. There's a lot of those this year. And yes, I think that would help. I wouldn't mind it because, we all need views, don't we?
We all need views, Coach Nick. That's what it's all about.
That's that's going to be on my, we all need views. Anyway, what else, anything else you want to plug before we get going?
Combos court, b-ball breakdown. Yeah, man, we're here.
Yeah. So we'll do this. We'll figure this out. We'll do some watch parties because, hey, we're watching the games anyway.
Right.
So we'll figure that out. And I'm around for the most part all month long. I got to go to Phoenix for a couple days, but then I'll be around. So we'll figure that out, and we'll be back. We'll let you guys know. Go watch that MVP video, please. I need some more views on it.
Life's all about views, as we said.
That's right. All right. And thanks everybody for out there for being part of the show. Thank you, Combo, for being here and being sorry for screwing up earlier, but I'm glad that we could do this app here. And don't forget, sports fans, at B-Ball Breakdown, we're not a channel, we're a conversation. You in?